Hello everyone, 76 Patriot here, and a very happy 4th of July to everyone tuning in. Today I'm going to be doing my monthly Senate prediction. So without further ado, let's begin by filling the safe Democrat seats and getting those out of the way. Now, most of these are ones that I don't really think there's any serious debate about, with the exception of a few of these, and we can just fill out all these New England states like so. And there are a couple worth mentioning, I will say. So, Minnesota, for example, the candidate that the Republicans are running is sadly broke. The Republican Party is broke, and Klobuchar will win for whatever reason. She's very popular there, even as Trump will probably massively overperform at the presidential level. And New Jersey, similar story. Bob Menendez, the incumbent who's weighed down by scandals, is trying to mount at least an independent bid. And I think that'll pull some votes away from Andy Kim, who's the nominee. The problem is, I don't know if it'll be enough to deem a different margin. But we'll have to see. Now, that's basically it for safe Democrat seats. And as we can see, these are ones I would say they're practically guaranteed out of the gate. So as we can see, they do not have a particularly high ceiling. As far as safe Republican states, wow, there are quite a few of them. So of course we have all these Midwestern states, Nebraska's two specials. Missouri's one a lot of Dems have been coping about. Could they knock Hawley off? Nah, he's going to win by double digits. Um, Jim Banks is going to be a major upgrade and a great senator, I think, from Indiana. And lastly, West Virginia is a state that is basically this is going to be a flip out of the gate for Republicans due to Manchin's retirement. So it's awesome. Democrats aren't even contesting the seat, and it's going to be great. So that's one, plus one kind of seat right there for the GOP. That's basically it for the safe Republican seats. So now let's move on to the likely Democrat seats, of which there are several. So we'll start off with the state of Maine. Maine is a state where Angus King, the incumbent, actually independent candidate, but he's basically a Dem, um, is probably going to underperform very slightly relative to 2018. Trump is going to do, I think, significantly better across Maine and Maine's districts, which is how they allocate their electoral votes. I just don't think it's going to be enough. I mean, he's a relatively popular incumbent. But nonetheless, Maryland, same story. I think it's going to be likely. Larry Hogan is basically, this is an interesting story. There has been a lot of debate in Republican Party and politics at large as to whether or not Hogan could actually flip this seat. And he's going up against also Brooks, the Democrat nominee. And the problem is for Larry Hogan, even though the thing he has going for him, the single biggest thing is he was a very popular two-term um, Republican governor of Maryland, and he's still very popular among Marylanders. The problem is just because he might have been popular at a gubernatorial level, statewide level, that doesn't automatically translate to a federal level. Because this is a federal race, Biden's going to win the state by a massive margin. So I think he still narrows it up by probably just shy of 10 points, which would still be a massive overperformance in that area. But I still think he goes down. Actually, New Mexico is one I'm kind of wavering on whether to put as lean or likely. Actually, let's just characterize that as likely. This is the state where the daughter, I believe, daughter or granddaughter, I forget actually, but one of the Dominici families, is a very kind of popular used to be a political dynasty for Republicans in New Mexico, is running. She's running against Martin Heinrich, the incumbent. And the problem is for the Republican is that New Mexico is quite a Democrat state, and she's going up against an incumbent. The good news is that Donald Trump is likely to perform significantly better and maybe only lose the state by 3 to 4 points this time. And I'm not exactly sure whether that'll translate to, whether the Senate race will get down to 3 or 4 points. It very likely may, but I'll leave it as likely for now. So that's basically it for the likely Democrat states. Now let's of course there are only two likely Republican states. And of course, we'll start off with the great state of Texas. Ted Cruz, who has always underperformed, well, particularly in 2018, most famously, when O'Rourke only lost by a couple points and Cruz only won, I believe it was about over 2 points, which was scary for Texas. It used to be a solid red state. I think he's going to do significantly better. He's running against Colin Allred, who's a very liberal Democrat, and he's way overrated in my opinion. Trump will be on the ballot, and Trump is probably going to improve by multiple points, considering how well he's doing with Hispanics. I think Cruz slightly underperforms him, maybe Cruz wins by like 6, and Trump wins by 8 to 9. But we'll have to see. He still holds on, I think, by a significant margin at the end of the day. Florida, same thing. Rick Scott also has underperformed basically every one of his races he's ever won. And the problem is, problem is for Democrats, rather, good thing for Republicans is that Florida is so red at this point that I think that kind of era of squeaker victories is done. I think Scott probably wins by 6, maybe even more at the end of the day. We'll have to see. But that's basically it. So now Republicans are at 50, we'll see. And so it really depends on the VP whether or not they have the majority at this point, but they're pretty darn close. They're at 50. So let's go to the lean Democrat states. And there are several of these. Let's just actually start off with the state of Pennsylvania. And this is kind of an interesting one because I actually predict Trump, as I showed in my last video, Trump I think is going to win the state probably by a couple points, maybe 1 to 2 points. And the problem is that Bob Casey, who's the incumbent senator, is quite a household name in the state. His family's been in politics for a long time, and he really is kind of an institution, you could say, and an electoral juggernaut. I mean, he has won all of his elections by like double digits. And Dave McCormick is the Republican nominee. He is quite a more establishment kind of character. Has the Trump endorsement, but he is very similar to Oz, I would say, actually probably even worse. And the problem is, he's probably the worst candidate you could run up against Casey. I would say, if you would run Sean Parnell or somebody like that, I think it would be over for Casey. The problem is, I think there's going to be a fair bit of ticket splitting going on here. So at the moment, I have Casey winning by about 3 to 4. I think that could change, though, and we'll have to see. If Trump keeps improving, there may be significant down ballot effects. Similar story in Virginia, and this is an interesting one. Again, another incumbent, Tim Kaine, who's relatively popular in the state, will be going up against Hung Cao, who I quite honestly believe is the best Republican nominee you could possibly have gotten in the state. He is a very, I guess you could say, kind of common sense conservative. He's very similar to kind of running on that Youngkin model. And the thing is, Cao massively overperformed in a Biden district in 2022. He's pretty popular in Nova, and he is Asian, which also helps with the significant Asian population in Nova as well. At the end of the day, I could see Kaine winning probably only by about 3 to 4. So, as a result, obviously Cal probably loses the state by about 3 maybe. But we'll have to see if Trump keeps tightening the race up. It could get down to tilt Democrat. Who knows? So now basically we're down to, I guess, the Republican leaners, and then we have the tilters after this. So there are several Republican leaning states. We'll start off with the state of Montana, and this is one that Jon Tester, the incumbent Democrat senator, is running basically kind of in a fight for his political survival against Tim Sheehy, the Trump-endorsed candidate. And the problem for Tester, he's been able to survive because he's always gotten elected in these kind of midterm years that have been very good for Democrats, by and large. And even then, he's only won by squeakers, like 3 points. Basically, he's never won by more than 3 points, I believe. And the problem is, he's kind of grifted his way into the Senate, if that makes sense, as this kind of rural rancher. The problem is he's just another kind of lock, stock, and barrel Democrat. I think he wins by about 3, maybe 3 to 4. There will be a fair bit of ticket splitting in this race because Tester is an incumbent after all. But I think it's too much to overcome, especially as Trump wins it by over 15. Next, we have the state of Ohio, and this one may be a bit controversial. This may merit a tilt characterization. I'm going to be a bit more bullish on this one and say Bernie Moreno wins it probably by about 3, maybe just under 3. Um, this is one, again, it's really kind of caught in between that tilt and lean. I'm going with lean. Um, Sherrod Brown is the incumbent. And the thing is, he does not even pretend to be like Tester. He does not even at least pretend to be this kind of fake moderate. He is literally one of the most progressive left wing Democrats in the entire Senate. And that's pretty kind of bad for a state that Trump won both times by over 8 points. I think Trump improves and maybe wins the state by like 10 to 11 even this time. I just think there's not enough ticket splitting that can save Sherrod Brown this time around. Even though he has won by decent margins in the past, 5 or 6 points. I just don't think that's going to be enough this time. So I probably see Moreno winning it by about 3. That's it for the lean Republican states. Let's get the tilt Democrat states out of the way. And there are actually quite a few of these, I'm not going to lie. So let's start off with the state of Nevada. This is kind of one I'm really torn on because I could see Sam Brown winning depending on how well Trump is doing. So Sam Brown is the current Republican nominee to run up against Jackie Rosen, who is the incumbent Democrat senator. She hasn't won by massive margins in the state, but Nevada is one of those states that's really on a razor's edge as far as to who's winning it. I think Trump is doing significantly better now in the state, and honestly, I predict he's going to win it. The problem is, does that translate to a win in the Senate race? For whatever reason, polling in Nevada always underestimates Democrats and overestimates Republicans. So polling has shown Trump up significantly, but it's also shown Rosen up, the Democrat, up significantly. I think that may change a little bit. I just don't see a 10-point split there. I think that would be crazy. As of right now, I have Sam Brown narrowly losing probably by about a point, maybe half a point. But again, that could totally change, and I certainly hope it does. Arizona is another one I'm going to have as tilt Democrat, and this is one I actually, honestly, it could probably merit a lean Democrat characterization, but I'm going to be a bit more conservative on this and just say tilt, because I don't want to be too overestimating Gallego. And so Gallego is one of the most progressive, certainly one of the more progressive members of the House, and he's kind of grifted his way as this moderate, kind of middle of the road Democrat. And Kari Lake is the Republican nominee. And unfortunately, at this point, Kari Lake is performing so badly in a lot of the polls. I mean, Gallego is up by, heck, almost, if not double digits, certainly by like 8 points. And that is a really bad thing to see. And honestly, I'm not sure if Mark Lamb would be a better candidate than Kari Lake at this point. I really liked Kari Lake. I still do. But the problem is, I'm not sure if she's the right candidate this time to take on Gallego because Arizona has just changed so badly for Republicans. I think Trump's going to take the state probably by about a point. The problem is, Arizona likes themselves. They love their ticket splitting, and I don't know why. As of right now, I have Gallego probably winning by about 2. Honestly, and this would honestly seem like a crazy kind of change in the Senate map rather, but I could easily see Nevada going red before Arizona. Basically, we're almost done. So Wisconsin, another one I'm going to put as tilt D. Eric Hovde is running a phenomenal campaign, I think, against Tammy Baldwin, the incumbent. Baldwin is somebody who is kind of, people say she's a high approval rating. Approval rating isn't always the most important thing at the end of the day. Hovde is kind of running another one of those, similar you could say to the Youngkin kind of model of just common sense kitchen table issues. And I think he's doing a pretty fair job at it. Hovde, I think he's going to win, I think he's going to lose rather, by probably about 1 point as of right now. I think Baldwin's going to narrowly pull it off as of right now. However, that might change because Trump is probably going to win by 1 to 2 points. And I certainly hope that Hovde can pull it off. Again, this is one of those states polling is not polling actually always overestimates Democrats in Wisconsin. So they have Hovde losing by about 7 right now overall. I think that's massively, I think as of right now, if it was fair polling, Hovde might only be down a couple points. So this actually brings us to the state of Michigan. So I guess I actually kind of lied. There are no tilt Republican seats in my current prediction. Mike Rogers is going up against Elissa Slotkin, who is kind of pretends to be this very moderate Democrat from the House, and she's not. But this is one I think Trump is going to do significantly better at the presidential level in Michigan. He's probably going to win by about maybe half a point to a point. And I just don't want to be too bullish and predict Rogers to win because I would totally see Hovde win in Wisconsin before Rogers wins in Michigan, just due to the nature and kind of demographics and history of the state. But as of right now, I mean, Democrats are just doing so bad across the board. I'm going to leave that as tilt Democrat. So that's basically it, guys. So it looks like if my predictions are even reasonably similar to reality, it looks like we're going to take the Senate by 52 seats. And this is one, I'm not 100% confident. This is just my current kind of thoughts and musings on the state of these races. You know, as far as the margins could obviously change, some of these I hope change. I hope that Nevada and Arizona, I hope that all these go red. And maybe next time I'll have to change them. We'll see how well Trump does and if he keeps up that momentum and this kind of surge that he's currently experiencing across the nation. I think that will dramatically help out a lot of candidates across the board in these close races. But that's it as of right now. So we retook the Senate, and it's also the 4th of July, guys. So happy 4th of July to our great nation. And let's retake the Senate, House, and the presidency this November to save America and make it great again. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great day.